Tarot Tube. I wanted to make a video because I'm out of practice of making videos. I'm out of routine after Christmas and New Year's, so I thought what better way to make a video than to kind of just tell you about my top 5 most used tarot decks of 2024. I know it's late. I know we're already midway through January, but I've never done one of these, so I thought, what the hell? I'm going to go ahead and jump right in. So I came up with 5 categories that I don't know if anybody else is talking about, but it's what made sense to me. So I've got my favorite deck to read with for myself, my favorite deck to read with for others, my most surprising or insightful tarot deck across the year, my favorite new deck that I got last year, and then my favorite sort of returning deck that I haven't used much but ended up using more than I thought I would last year. So yeah, we'll kick things off with my favorite deck to read with for myself, which was Benebell Wen's Spirit Keepers Tarot. This is the Revelation second printing, so I guess version 3.2 if you label them by that. But this, I've used this deck pretty consistently for my weekly pulls across the year, and it just has beautiful artwork that I just adore. So if you haven't seen that, I don't know, it's probably, if you haven't seen this, you're probably new to tarot, but it is worth showing just how gorgeous and insightful this deck is. So I know a lot of people like to use a lot of different decks and swap them out throughout the months of the year, but I was just trying to come up with some new ways of being consistent, and I thought, what better way than to use, one tarot deck through the year for weekly pulls. Is it gonna focus? No. Yeah, there we go. So yeah, I know that might be backwards when I upload this. We shall see. But by far, this has been the most comforting deck to use, especially through some really tough weeks where I just felt really alone. The whole premise behind this deck is one that I really enjoy. So it's like every card has its own spirit almost. And depending on what spreads you're using it for, you feel like you've got a support team there supporting you through the messages instead of, just one single voice of a tarot deck. So I know some people think, okay, this deck has this particular voice, that deck has, a sassy voice, or that deck has more of a serious voice, but it's almost like you get 78 different voices in one deck because she's put so much work into each card. So if you don't have a copy of that, I forgot, it's actually, it's out of print. I'm so sorry. I know some people get really upset when out of print decks are used in videos, and that was not my intention if that has upset you. I don't know when it'll be printed again. Every once in a while you find one secondhand on Facebook, so I would highly recommend you keeping your eye out in some buy-sell groups and grabbing it if you want it. It's such a good deck. So that one is definitely has been my favorite deck for personal use. I don't think I'll ever use it to read with for others. I think it's a really private, I get really private messages through this deck, and just really personal messages. I have shared some of them here on my YouTube channel, and I have felt like, the messages that came through during those readings were for more public consumption, because I think obviously my intent goes into it, but the readings that I have done privately with that deck, there's been some hard-hitting truths in that deck for me. It's definitely told me when to pull my head out of my butt and, when I needed to pay some more attention to different areas of my life. So I am grateful I have that one in my collection. So the next category I wanted to talk about was my favorite deck to use to read with for others. So I currently do readings at 2 weekend markets here in my city, or in the city that's just south of me. So I've got a regular market I read for on Saturdays, which is the Seekers Makiti and Makate. And on Sundays I do readings at the Sunday Riccarton Market, which is run by the Rotary Club, Riccarton Rotary Club, I think it's called. So both great markets. If you are local, come catch me out and about. If you would like a short reading done. But I do find that I get a big mix of people coming to me for readings at those markets, and not everyone is actually familiar with tarot, or tarot, depending on how you want to say it. I would say 75% of my readings are I am somebody's first tarot reader, and this is the reading I'm doing for them is their very first tarot reading. So I usually carry 2 decks with me. One of them is the traditional Rider-Waite-Smith, and the other one is the Super Lunaris Spark. It is, this is my choice for this category. This was the winner. So favorite deck to read with for others. It is just such an accessible and approachable deck. It doesn't cost the earth, and I'm not as worried if it gets a little beat up, because I know I can afford to buy another one. But it is something a little bit different than a traditional Rider-Waite-Smith, so it has more modern artwork than the Rider-Waite-Smith, and so I think, sometimes people can relate to those images a little bit easier than, say, the traditional Rider-Waite-Smith. It comes with a wee little pamphlet, which I've never actually read. I probably should, to see if there's an additional spin that the creator puts on their cards, but it is just, it's quite an inclusive deck as well, which I really appreciate. Nope, it's gonna be there. There we go. So that's the world. Oops. 9 of Pentacles here. One of my favorite 9 of Pentacles, I think, that I've seen, actually. 2 of Cups. The Empress. Some gorgeous, like, golden energy in there. 6 of Swords. So it's got a lovely linen finish. There's the Fool. This is the Page of Wands. And it just shows, a little more exciting, a little more, there's a little more depth to these images than you find in the Rider-Waite-Smith. And like I said, it's a lot more of an inclusive deck, so I get all sorts of people coming to me for readings. And I like that not everybody looks the same in this deck for that reason. And it is such a clear reader. There's always something new I see in the cards. There's great interplay between the cards and readings. And yeah, I find it a very approachable deck for the general public. And I don't know, it's just, you don't find, not every tarot deck is good for reading for people who are brand new to tarot, who are kind of apprehensive and a little bit shy and nervous about getting some kind of scary message. So I feel like this is, it is just such an accessible deck for people who are unfamiliar with the symbols and the Rider-Waite-Smith system or tarot in general. And it's just a great tool to sort of jump off from in interpretations for people who are already nervous and you know, might be scared for whatever reason. I get a lot of people going, ooh, when they first sit down. And interestingly enough, I would say probably about 50% of new people that I do readings for, where I'm their first reader, I give them the option between this deck and the Rider-Waite-Smith. I would say 50% will go for Rider-Waite-Smith because that's what they've seen in movies or popular media, popular culture. And then the other 50 would pick this deck because they like the imagery more. And then when I get, you know, people who are familiar with tarot, I've found the difference between those two groups and what they pick is almost down to generational preferences. So the older folks quite often will pick the Rider-Waite-Smith, even if they've read tarot for years, and then the younger folks will pick this one. It's very interesting. That's just my, you know, casual observations. I sometimes wonder if I should write it down and tally it up at the end of the month to see, you know, what happens. But anywho, so yeah, that was Super Lunaris Spark, and this is the linen edition, and it's ungilded. So gorgeous, gorgeous wheat deck. The third deck I wanted to talk about was my favorite new deck to my collection, which was a gift from a friend over in the US who surprised me with this lovely deck. It is a Thoth-based system, Thoth deck, Thoth clone. It is the Maria Tarot. It is such a beautiful deck. It is, I just love holding this deck and just looking at the cards. It has a very thorough guidebook. If you're new to Thoth, it is a very approachable guidebook compared to some of the more chunkier texts that accompany the Thoth, the traditional Thoth by Lady Frida Harris, and some of the, you know, guide to Thoth books that are out there can be quite chunky. So this is a really good, I think it's a good starter deck for anyone who wants to jump into Thoth. I certainly, having this deck has really helped me in my relationship with the traditional Thoth deck. So this deck, just the vibrant colors in it are stunning. I just really love them so much. I just get so much more out of this than the traditional colors in the original Thoth deck. Dang it. I flipped the deck and then half the cards are upside down again. Look, there, did it again. But yeah, it is an interesting size ratio as well. So it's not like the size of a traditional tarot deck. I think Thoth is the same way, actually, but I don't want to turn around and grab one. But I would say this is more the size of like a medium oracle deck. It looks beautiful on the altar back there. Although I've got Tabula Mundi back there at the moment. It shuffles like a dream. I mean, look at that. Look at the flexibility. And it's just lovely. The finish on it is gorgeous. The guidebook, like I said, was really surprised by. And as a little bonus, you also get this lovely Tree of Life fold out and a Deccan Wheel fold out on the other side. And I have continually used this throughout the month that I've had this deck, just because it's, you know, it's within reach. I keep this deck on my altar. I don't do readings for other people with it. It is another one where I don't think I would read for other people with it just because it's such a special deck to me. It definitely has stolen my heart this year. So I really, really just love it. It's just, it's so deep, and I get such, like, this deck actually evokes a lot more emotion from me than the traditional Thoth. Just because the artwork is so much more vibrant and alive to me. So there are some Thoth cards, like as I'm learning and kind of deep diving into Thoth more, that I really am appreciating, all the symbols and how they have included everything in the cards. But this one is just way more exciting to me visually. And it has a great warm energy to it. So yay for that. I love it so much, and I'm so glad I have it. The third deck, no, that was the third deck, wasn't it? That was the third deck. No, second deck? No, that was the third deck. My bad. Welcome to my ADHD brain. I haven't had enough caffeine today. The fourth deck I would like to talk about is my favorite returning deck. So, not not the newbie on the block, but one that I've had for a couple years and just hadn't worked with that much, but started to work with it this year, is the Terra Volatile, however you want to say that. Obviously, they have released a beautiful collector's edition that I have done a comparison of to their standard size deck. You can find that on my channel. But this deck doesn't pull any punches, and it surprisingly has some very I would say, even though it doesn't pull any punches, it's not like brutal either, if that makes sense. I don't know. I find it really wholesome in a sort of grounded way. This is a very earthy deck to me. Earthy and maybe fire. But it has an additional suit of vessels. It has alternate cards that you can pick through. I'm just trying to see if I can find any vessels. I can't. Come on. Where are you? Vessels. There's one. I say it's not brutal, and then, a card like that. Maybe I have a different definition of what brutal is. No. But here's, the two, or the Princess of Vessels. So, yeah, there are, I just really love the art style. It just, I don't know, it grabs me so much and very quickly into the story of what's going on in the card. Okay, maybe the artwork is a little brutal, but the messages I get from the deck are not cutting in any way, if that makes sense. Like, maybe that's me maturing as a tarot reader. Maybe I'm learning how to be more gentle with myself, and so I appreciate even the tough messages, and I'm not as shocked by them. That's probably what's happening. But it is a beautiful deck. It is by Credo Quio Absurdum. I probably said that wrong. But I will include, the links in the description. Highly recommend this deck and the expansion deck if you can get it. So, yeah, that one again was my favorite returning deck that has been on my shelf for some time, and I just hadn't had a chance to work with it as much as I wanted to in previous years, or just wasn't drawn to, really. So, yeah, highly enjoy. Again, the cardstock on that one is very similar to Maria, and also has a linen finish. I guess I'm a sucker for a linen finish, because 3 out of 5 of my top 5 decks are very similar cardstock and a linen finish. I guess I have a type. That is not surprising to me at all. So what number was that? That was number 4. And my last one is an oldie. So this deck has been around for a very long time. This category is my favorite, or no, sorry, my most surprising, or my most surprising deck. Yeah, so I started using this deck. I pull 1 card a week in part of a deep dive tarot and oracle study group call that we have every week, which is just the Rider-Waite-Smith one card study. And basically we get together and we pull a single card and deep dive through all of the symbols in it. And then we look at our individual decks that we've brought, and we look at that particular card in the deck and look and see how it has answered our questions. And this deck is a little different. I wouldn't say it's straight RWS. It does kind of move away from some traditional meanings of RWS cards. And to be honest with you, I have not read the very first part of the guidebook here. I'm just flipping through it, but a lot of it is very RWS focused. So anywho, I should tell you what it is. It's the Darrow transformation. So yeah, this deck has been around since, hold on, let me see if I can find the year. 2002. Oddly enough, I would have put it probably as a little bit older than that. Maybe that just reminds me of a late 90s deck. The feel of it is late 90s to me. But anywho, it has, a different ratio than the standard tarot deck. I would say it's like a 3-to-4 ratio, maybe. Very, very soft artwork. And just a lot softer than what I would normally be drawn to, if that makes sense. So I would say maybe I'm not drawn to the most feminine of tarot decks. It also does remind me of like late 90s New Age. This just, maybe it's something my mom would have been more drawn to initially than me. I think she would have loved this deck. But I will say the messages that come through with this deck are some of the most enlightening and illuminating messages out of any of my tarot decks. And it's possible because it could be due to the fact that the creators have a heavy background in psychology, but everything in this deck is about transforming your emotional world and your spiritual world. And I picked this deck sort of with the aim to connect again more with my intuition, and connect more with my spirituality this year, because I had in recent years felt really disconnected from that for a number of reasons. But it has definitely helped me do just that in really unexpected ways. So in the cards that have gone astray from the normal RWS meanings or archetypes, it has been exactly what I needed to hear that week, regardless of what the traditional RWS card we pulled during our one card study was. My particular card, if it was, way out in left field, was exactly what I needed to hear. So I feel like this deck has really been quite a lifeline for me in terms of reconnecting with my spirituality and just kind of believing that there might be more out there than us in this. I still don't know what I believe, but I feel a lot more plugged in this year than I did last year. Or I felt a lot more plugged in 2024 than I did in 2023. So I feel like I achieved some goals there with my tarot practice, even if they weren't the original goals, the very heady, strict goals that I set out for myself in the beginning of 2024. But anywho, if you made it this far, hi, I'm Gwen, and I also answer to Twixt Tarot. I will be putting out sporadic content throughout the year. I will try and be consistent, but sometimes life gets in the way, and that is just what it is. But yeah, I look forward to meeting you in the comments and exploring your channels. Please let me know, what decks you enjoyed last year and what decks you look forward to jumping into this year. I really am looking forward to connecting with more of you in 2025. And I hope you enjoyed hearing about my top 5 decks, even though they might be untraditional categories. But yeah, have a good day and thank you so much for watching. Bye.